There's a good time, though, to introduce a guest from the Labour Taieri area, where... Was there a frost this morning, Ingrid, or not?
Actually, Michael, I'm in Wellington. I've got some meetings up here, so heading back tomorrow morning. But I can imagine, given how cold Wellington was this morning, I'd be almost certain there was a frost.
But there wasn't in Dunedin. Dunedin itself was 10, but I imagine down in the South Otago, you might have got down there. Listen, have you ever had minestrone soup?
Yes.
What's it like?
Eat buckets of it. Wonderful winter soup that can replace a meal, full of nutrients. You're boiling the vegetables away and you're not getting rid of the water, so the nutrients get into it. Fantastic to feed the kids. I love it.
Do you think it would be a good school lunch?
Yes, if the kids were disposed to eating it,
that's the issue, isn't it?
Varying tastes, and so nutritionally great. I probably would have eaten it. If I look at my own kids, I don't know if they would. Depends what age the kids are.
Listen, on that, this week, Associate Education spokesman David Seymour seemed to backtrack a bit, I have to say, on school lunches. I thought, they were finally going to people who needed them, but no, apparently it's still going to go to 220,000 people who don't, or a good proportion of who don't. There are some school teachers that are saying they're very disappointed because the hot lunch is gone. And one school principal, Aorere College principal, Bianca Webb, has said that the sandwich won't cut it. So she said, sandwich, piece of fruit, muesli bar is not going to cut it at my school, which I have to say I sort of raised my eyebrows at, saying, I think that's what I give my kids to send them to school, but there you go. You would be pleased with the outcome, presumably, that school lunches are still going to remain?
Look, I'm really pleased for the primary schools and the younger kids. Most of the 50, I think, also schools around the Greater Otago area are at that level, and I had real concerns for, look, I'm sorry, I still work in deciles, the many deciles 2 and 3 schools in my area. Yeah. I have one college in my direct electorate that has been affected, and so, of course, that scheme is going to change into next year, and I think that's a bit disappointing, especially because I am hearing when I knock on doorsteps about teen hunger and teens not sleeping because they're hungry and then going to school tired and not doing work. But it is a very good backtrack, and I'm relieved, and I'm also very relieved that it's not going to be dividing the kids into those who have the stigma of getting a school lunch versus those who don't. That would have just been appalling. There's plenty of evidence to show what that does to kids' self-esteem. So it is a good backtrack, and I think I'm very grateful, actually, to all the teachers and parents and people who signed our petition and who pushed for this to happen.
Now, there are, as I said, some school principals are going, no, my kids won't eat that, and they're talking about sandwiches, a piece of fruit, and muesli bar, or something similar. Are some of the expectations of principals a bit unrealistic, do you think?
I think principals know their children and their communities, and they know what they eat. And I also think for some of those schools as well, they have had families and parents of the kids at school being part of the service provision. So there's been a kind of double benefit in terms of people being employed and being able to serve appropriate food. The principals know their kids. If that's what they're saying, then that's a fair comment. I don't think this is about people being fussy and saying there's a certain gourmet type of taste. This is about different communities eating different types of food, and the service should reflect that and deliver into that.
Or should it just be for hungry kids? I mean, my view on this one was, no. If there are hungry kids, feed them. But I don't think you can be too picky about the kind of food as long as it's nutritious and it is going to feed you.
Yeah,
I don't sit down with my mum, for example, or when I was a kid, neither of you, and say, I'm sorry, Mum, I'm not eating that. You'll send it back. I need something else. You ate what was put in front of you, didn't you?
Yeah, but you've also got kids who've got cultural and religious requirements about what they can and can't eat. Those should be respected. I think it's a very monocultural view to suppose that everybody must be happy with the same food. And so who makes those decisions? Who says a sandwich is the way to go? There might be other iterations.
Well, they're given choices. Yeah, but it'd be $3.
Yeah.
It's going to be, what, $3 a kid, I think, which I think's bloody good, $3 a kid. And you start to extrapolate that over, 200 or 1,600 kids at high schools. That's a lot of money.
It's taking away the possibility of communities to get involved, which I think is a shame. I think things that are closer to the grassroots are better. And I hate to say this pun, but I guess the proof is in the pudding. Let's see how the kids respond to the food.
I think they should be grateful.
Test the level of waste.
I think they should be grateful
as well.
There are no such thing. There is no such thing as a free lunch because I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it.
Absolutely, but also you are getting the benefit of those children getting better educational outcomes and contributing. That is the public.
I can't see that. I can't see the correlation, Ingrid. Seriously, to be honest with you, I'm looking at the NCA results for last year and I'm going, they've declined again. So obviously school lunches haven't made too much a difference with overall educational attainment.
Look, there's plenty of evidence that kids who are hungry can't focus and don't achieve as much as they could. We've all got a vested interest in that. And these are the kind of statistics I think that you do have to measure over the medium term. And unfortunately, our systems don't enable that, which is enormously frustrating. But I don't think this is necessarily about just being grateful. Of course, it's good to be grateful for everything. But we have to provide what's appropriate so that it works. And I think one of the good measures will be looking at what was wasted under the previous scheme, what will be wasted under this coming scheme, make a comparison, and then let's have a discussion based on the evidence.
All right, oil and gas exploration. You are being blamed, or not you personally, but your government, for exacerbating the problem that we have all struck this morning, and which apparently is not going to go away this winter. And we've just talked this morning to an expert in the energy field who says, listen, you think it's bad this year, you wait until next year. And that is to do with oil and gas exploration, the decision of the last Labour government in 2018 to do away with that. The point that was made to us this morning, Ingrid, just to bring you up to it, was that it wasn't so much that oil and gas exploration of itself was banned by Labour, but it was that the immediate effect of that was to stop existing gas companies from investing in their existing reserves, which would have been available in 2024, to deal with this particular peaking crisis at the moment. Do you accept some responsibility for the events of today?
I think that we have to take a big picture approach, and the reality is that we do have to pivot away to renewable energy. What my own reading of the situation, and I haven't done a deep dive into this, but I get the feeling that the storage issue, if that had been planned for in a meaningful way or in a faster way, and if we had been able to parallel that along with the pivot, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now.
When you mean the storage issue, do you mean Lake Onslow?
Yeah, Lake Onslow and other ways of, whether it's batteries, whether it's other ways of storing power. We haven't been able to do that with the power that we rely on. And so I think this is a problem that has been years in the making, and we probably didn't plan sooner enough. Now, by kicking the can down the road and saying, we've got to go back to opening everything up and relying on fossil fuels is not going to help. We need to be able to pivot to renewables because climate change is upon us. So, yes, there are issues currently, but we cannot keep relying on fossil fuel. And
can I go back to the question? Yeah, but can I go back to the question I asked you? Does Labour accept that it exacerbated the situation that we find ourselves in this morning as a result of decisions that were made over the last 6 years?
Yeah, well, I can't speak for our spokespeople. All I'm doing is saying, as the tired EMB, and having listened to some of the commentary lately, and also with my deep interest in climate change adaptation and climate change as it impacts my communities, that, we should have seen this coming decades ago and planned for it properly. Labour tried to do that. We didn't resolve the storage issue, but we did have a solution, which was Lake Onslow. We haven't been able to act on that because that is now being reversed. And I really worry about the government saying, on the one hand, let's open up all the fossil fuel stuff again to be able to rely on that, and on the other hand, and we have to have a finance and expenditure inquiry into climate change adaptation. they're putting a bob each way. We're either committed to realising and accepting that climate change is upon us and doing something about it and acting with urgency, or we're not.
Sorry, but Lake Onslow wasn't going to come on stream for another 20 years, and it was going to cost $16 billion. It wouldn't have helped us this year or next, would it?
No, it wouldn't, and so hence my point, this has been decades in the making. The planning for this should have been done decades ago, and where successive governments are playing catch-up.
But also going forward into the future, do you accept that gas and coal are going to be required into the foreseeable future because you're simply not going to have enough water falling in rivers behind dams, the sun shining sufficiently, or the wind blowing